We look around Radio Row here, and how much commerce is taking place?
A lot. I mean, I'm surprised Radio Row still exists and we haven't gone all digital, but the fact is this is very unique with people walking around, and, you can't do this in studio. So Super Bowls continues to be, it's my Super Bowl, if that means anything. So, it continues to be big, and obviously from a gambling standpoint, it's just going to almost $7 billion will be bet this year legally. That's changed things. It hasn't changed things from the NFL recognizing it, but that's going to happen when their next rights fees comes up, and the Disney is not the one that has the most cash anymore. It's Amazon and Apple, and they don't have a Mickey Mouse stopping them. And they're also really good at micropayments and one-clicks, and I don't think that's any accident.
So how much is, in 5 years, 10 years, for fans to watch football, how much different is it going to be? Are they going to be sitting in there?
I think we're finally going to give up the TV even
Really?
though the TV has, if you look at the iPhone 11 and the clarity, right? Before it's been like, the TV just has a clarity that the phone doesn't have. The iPhone 15 is going to be amazing. You're going to be able to see those blades of grass. It's just going to be like a 4K. So I think ultimately what people want to do is live bet. Live betting in Europe is 75% of the game. It's less than 5% here. It is. I gave myself $10,000 this year to live bet. How can I do it? I want to try to figure out what's the best way to do it. It's amazing. I'm like a stockbroker during a game. So basically I have 19. There's 19 apps in New Jersey. I have 19 apps on my phone, or I pull them up on the computer. And you have to try to figure out, where are your advantages in the moment. Then you have to figure out what sports book moves fastest from play to play. Mm-hmm. And then you have to figure out, this is very key, you have to figure out which sports book also lets you execute the trade fast enough, right? Like, if a sports book's going to spin and spin and spin, and then the next play happens, and I'm like, I don't want that anymore. It's like I put $250 on this. so I've had some keys. I've had some learnings. The opponent's 32-yard line, that is where you are making your best bet. So you're going to bet, are they going to score 0, 3, or 7? And based on that, you're figuring out either the total, the points, or where that team is going to be against their opponents. And then you figure it out from there. You also, the greatest things is, so I am not liking the Chiefs or the 49ers in this game to start, but I'm going to live bet it. And I'm hoping, when you do live betting, if you're going to do it right, you have to know what your strategy is going in. I'm hoping that the Chiefs get up 10-0, and then I'm going to pound the 49ers.
Well, that's the interesting thing. In Indiana, where I live, it's legal now, and it is like playing the stock market. Let's say you have the Steelers. The Steelers are down 14, and you're okay. Now they're plus. You can get them live plus 6.5. Wait, I want 7. Right. I want at least 7.5.
Right, you can do the points, or you can do the money.
Yeah,
I love doing the
money line. Is huge. Yeah. I've done that before. But what I want to talk about.
By the way, if the Steelers are playing a team, if they start as the underdogs, or they're playing a team that is a greater public than them, which is a little bit harder than
right for the Steelers. Yeah.
Like I made the most money I've ever made live betting the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, because it's the Cowboys, it's the casual audience who's doing it. It's the Cowboys.
They're a public team.
They're a public team. They're the favorite, and they're up 7-0 on the Bills 4 minutes in. The Bills' money line at that point is basically 6-1 that they're going to win. I'm like, wait a second. You know how much time is left in this game? Like that, the real line should be 2-1.
Right.
But it's 6-1 because you have the public, the Cowboys, Thanksgiving. People who shouldn't be betting are betting, and I'm against you.
And the minute you like you said, you'll hit that button, and it'll say, no, it changed.
Confirming.
It changed.
Right.
It changed. I want to ask you this because
80% of the time, by the way, the way you know you're good, getting good live betting is 80% of the time I either lock out or it changed.
Right.
Right.
It's hard in basketball because every possession, but football you wait for that TV timeout. But at the Kentucky Derby for years, part of that excitement, what draws all the famous people, they go make that bet at the window. There's talk now at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway having windows to bet the Indy 500. Do you think we'll get to a point where there you are going to an NFL stadium and they have windows for some action?
No, and I'll tell you why. That was what we thought it would be, but windows aren't profitable. Right, so Capital One Arena will have a sports book inside. You'll be able to bet during NHL and NBA games. But the kiosk is not profitable because you go up to that kiosk or you go up to that window. That's a one-time thing. They don't even know who you are. That's not of interest, right? They want, and this is how it works for at the Prudential Center for Devils games, they have 4 or 5 gambling sponsors. They have something that looks like a sports book. Walk into the William Hill sports book. There are no kiosks. They have nice women who come over and say, hey, you should download our app. It's all about downloading the app. That's all it is, because then they get you, and then they get you when you're home. I don't know if this guy's going to be at 1 Devils game or 17. I do know that if I get him to download the app, then I've hooked him. So it's all about hooking. The kiosks are, well, that's what, hey, is it going to be like Europe? And the kiosks are unprofitable, and they're one-offs.
I just have to say, this sounds really complicated. When I was in college, I knew a guy. I'd bet $10 here and $10 there in a game.
And by the way, it's that's why illegal gambling will still exist, because DraftKings ain't giving you credit. All right, all right. If you're down $10,000, DraftKings, which will be publicly traded, will not be giving you credit. So there still will be that. It's actually not that complicated once you kind of get started. And at the Action Network, we kind of help you there. I will tell you, you can put in your bet in our app, and it will show you what your wallet looks like in the moment. So it will. It will
look like this.
There you go.
Let me ask you this: when you think about the immediacy of the apps, and you think about like you got Jack. He knows about, okay, I want to go. I like the Niners to win this game, but then there is such a sophistication now, and that's how you really can make money. If you know, okay, this team. They struggle in the first quarter. The other night, I thought, Victor Oladipo was coming back, so everybody was on the Pacers. Right. I'm like, they're going to struggle because Oladipo's not going to come back and score 45 points.
It's all about the quick edges. I mean, I can't tell you how many people in our office make more money betting than their salary. I mean, one guy walked.
We got to go work for him.
One guy walked into the office the other day, and I'm like, "Hey, you get that watch on Canal Street?" like basically saying that's a fake watch. He's like, "No, it's real." I'm like, "Oh." Okay, looking at it as like $30,000 watch, and basically it's all about you're not wrong. You can be wrong at any time, but it's all about the edges. I have a guy. So I'm in New Jersey, and a lot of people in the office in New York. Before I left, I had my editor call me up. He goes, "I need $1,800 on." Hold on. $1,800 on this. I don't even know what it was. This player. Under 27.5 receiving yards in the Super Bowl. I can't even tell you who it was. And I go, okay, what 27.5? What's your edge here? He goes, all the other sports books have it at 21.5. And I'm like, so you're betting $1,800 on the fact that he will not break through a trip. Like, someone will try to tackle him. It'll be a shoestring tackle. And whether he, it's 5 yards. And I'm like, why would you do that? It sounds so crazy. He's like, it's an 18% difference. What are you talking about? Like, that's how they think.
Right.
And is he going to be right? Maybe, but he's going to be right more than wrong.
And it's in the Super Bowl is where you see all of these props. The long list, they break them out there at the Westgate, and they have a big party.
Indiana allowed the Gatorade this year.
Right. So I've seen before, what will be the first song that J-Lo sings? What will be this or that? So by
the way, there's a controversy last year because I ran the Chicago Marathon, and that was the day that I was supposed to bring my wife to Adam Levine, which is the only person she's allowed to have sex with besides me. And so she really likes him. And so I said, I'm sorry, I got to make it up to you. Oh, he's singing halftime to the Super Bowl, but we're not going to the Super Bowl. Okay, I'm going to try to get you into the rehearsal. So I got her into the rehearsal through Pepsi. 2 hours later, I have the NFL calling me. Yeah, you can't go. I'm like, what? You're into betting. I'm like, oh, right. Because there's a $50 maximum bet. I am going to risk my entire reputation that I've built for 20 years with the NFL trying to make $45.45. Is that
with the insider trading? Yeah.
Oh, you're going to tell other people. Oh, I'm going to tell other people so that they can make $45.
$1 billion. Well, you think about this. This is only the 4th time in the history of the Super Bowl the number has been 2 or less points. So really, in this particular
and
Super Bowl,
by the way, the 49ers should be the 1.5-point favorite, but it's just because people love offense more than they love defense that's how it.
So you'll see that in college football, your Alabamas, your Notre Dames, the public teams. It's kind of weird in this situation because neither one of these has had the recent success you're not talking about. Everybody's going to bet on Tom Brady.
No, Kansas City has turned into a public team. Has turned into a public team.
So that's why you think that number's that way instead of
it's not that
the
it's
Niners.
wrong. It's just people think Patrick Mahomes is the 2018 Patrick Mahomes, and maybe that's because he had an injury. I'm just saying he's not. He's not last year's Patrick Mahomes to the numbers, right? And people don't give, other than Nick Bosa and even Richard Sherman, the 49ers don't have enough marketable players on defense that people can love the defense.
So what are you looking for when you're getting ready to place a bet? I mean,
just little edges there. So we have on the Action Network, we have algorithms that will tell you every prop and what's the projection on that prop. You're looking. I like to bet against the public, and the reason is there's true value in betting against the public. I like to bet against something where the public thinks it's the case, but when you look at the stats, it's wrong. So 3 weeks ago, I was telling everyone for the playoff game, I bet Lamar Jackson would not have a rushing touchdown. People are like, that is the dumbest bet I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, how many rushing touchdowns does he have? And they come up with the number, and I go, okay, how many games has he had a rushing touchdown in? Less than half. Okay, fine. Last week I did that Derrick Henry would not have a touchdown of any sort. Now, people were like, that's so stupid. I'm like, no, you're looking at his yards. You're not looking at let's look at his touchdowns. Let's look how many games he's had a touchdown of any sort, okay? And it's on my side. Now, 5 minutes in, he scores a touchdown. The rest he has 69 yards the entire game. I got caught up in a situational thing. It's not. Touts are like, I knew it. I just tell you I have an advantage, and I'm going to be on the right side more times than wrong because I'll look at the stats and deeper. So I can still lose the bet though.
Yeah. What's your advantage? What's the bet you're making this week that people are telling you, oh, that's stupid?
I'm going to take the under on the points, right? So it started at 51.5 and now it's at 55.
Mm-hmm.
To move 4.5 points on a Super Bowl, the Super Bowl should be the most refined game of the year, right? We have 255 games. They should just press a button, and whatever that total is, that should really stick. The fact that it's moved 4.5 points suggests to you that people think it's wrong, and but I think that I just got 4.5 points to work with. I'm taking the under. I don't think now I could still lose, but I just think there's a better shot at the under in that.
Now, as a disclaimer, what I always tell people...
But I'm live betting the side. I know
exactly.
what I'm doing. And when you're live betting, I would just say the best thing to do is come in with a strategy. You should know what you're doing before you're doing it. Because when I haven't come in with a strategy, I'm just like, that's ridiculous. My famous game where I kept Hawaii, San Jose State this year, where I was like, there's 21 points scored after the first quarter or something, and the total was 87. And I'm like, there's no way it's getting to 87. And somehow it became the only game in college football that didn't have a punt, and it got to 87.
Well, remember, I always tell people there's always a way. My disclaimer to folks out there that when they ask me about gambling, I always say bet just enough where you're excited to win and it hurts you to lose. What would be your piece of advice for folks out there? Because it can be a problem for those who don't show that kind of restraint, and they can, like you said, next thing you know, they're done.
So my piece of advice, and I'm looking down at my phone now, is to write down every single bet you make with what you win and what you lose. So, and you don't need to write it down because in the Action Network we have everyone. So I pull up right now. In the NFL this year, I was 95, 67, and 1. 58.6%. I made $1,900. I then go in, and this is every bet that I made.
Oh, wow.
So I have every bet, and I can look at it. By the way, I had a run here that was legendary.
Yeah?
He scrolled down to that one, yeah.
I thought I could never be wrong. But yeah, no. So if the wife says, "Oh, she knows when it's a bad bet, like anyone." But like I say, everything's in here, and if you're looking at your bets, you can't make them disappear. and then you really know, and you write how much you're putting on it.
So how do you avoid, when you're on a hot streak like that, not getting a little careless?
Well, because I don't think I'm a tout. I don't think I'm invincible, and I don't think I'm not going to be wrong. I still think, again, 58.7% that's the best year I've ever had. So it's like you're not invincible, and as long as you don't have an ego about it, I think you have to continue to do work.
Yep.
I'd say this in closing, I'd say this. People say, I'm not into gambling. I'm like, do you do stocks? You trade stocks or no? And they say, yeah. And I go, okay, let me tell you why sports betting's better. When a game happens, there's a winner and a loser. You either win or you lose your bet. In the stock market, Amazon comes out with their earnings, and that earnings beats the number that the analysts say. And then they come on CNBC, and I worked there for 6 years, so I know. And they say, yeah, but it didn't beat the whisper number. Wasn't as big as what we thought it was going to be, and that's why the stock's going to be down. Wait, but Amazon won, and now they lost. Yeah. And they only have to report 4 times a year. They only have to tell you, I know a lot more about Victor Oladipo than I know about stocks. So sports gambling over stocks.
And you can close the book on a bet, and we can close the book on – we could talk to you all day, but good
all
stuff.
Day. All right.
Darren, thank you very much.
Darren, good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate you. All right, JB.